in our space, the self-development space, that is the one that I look up to is David Goggins. So David Goggins has made it his mission to find out what his body can take, to push back everything in his mind. Now, if you read his books, you find out that he's had the same issue. He's had those same issues where he starts to doubt himself, especially in the second book, and where he talks about his relationship where he actually
Awe Genge, this is Mental Mythos, hosted by Asego Toto.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mental Mythos. I'm your host, Asego Toto. And before we dive into today's incredible conversation, I have a small favor to ask. If you enjoy what you hear today, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but also helps others discover the valuable insights we share every week. And if you find today's episode particularly inspiring or insightful, don't forget to share it with your friends, family, or anyone you think could benefit from it. Thank you for your support. It truly means the world to us. Now, let's get back into our conversation.
Why is it important for us to do the hard things?
Well, hard things shifts the balance. So it increases confidence. It increases the ability to do other things. So by going up and above, going past the edge, we learn two things. We learn what is the edge? How far can I go? And it gets us to a point where we know there's more. So for instance, when running their first marathon, there's always a temptation to slow down, stop, jog, whatever. But we know through numerous different studies and people that the mind will quit about 100 times before the body will. Definitely. It leaves them with thinking, well, is this something I want to do, or is this something I need to do? So once we find the edge and we go, oh wait, I don't need to stop. I want to stop. I can keep going. And using techniques to go just a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. But when the finish line comes around and they're done and they've accomplished this huge goal that is way above anything they ever thought they could do, they ever thought possible, maybe a year and a half, 2 years prior to that, then the self-talk when something else comes in becomes, oh, hey, I just ran a marathon in 4.5 hours. What can't I do? You know what I mean? So when something comes up in their personal life, it's like, okay, I jumped out of a plane at 35,000 feet and lived to tell about it. What can't I do? Oh, I can handle this. I can handle this. So when we're doing things that are way over and above what we ever thought possible, no matter what the time frame is, it increases our ability to do other things.
Mm-hmm. And you spoke about self-talk and actually have that mentality that asking yourself that, what can't you do? We can do everything. And towards that, there's this perception of people actually, instead of actually listening to their self-talk, listening to as much as you did that, you ran that marathon and you actually finished it. And as much as you have that dopamine, you have that sense of, I can do everything in the world, that self-talk, that negative self-talk creeps in, that outside noise creeps in and say that you're not worth it. And these days, in a way of mostly the youth have I would say speak a lot about mental health. At the same time, they have a very low self-esteem. And most of the time, they actually don't focus on I would say, on the things that they did, that positive side, but negative side, how do you actually try by any means to eliminate that negative self-talk or that outside noise of saying that you're not worth it? How do you actually build that self-confidence?
Two ways. One, you go back to that moment. So when you're in front of an obstacle that starts to let that self-talk creep in, that negative self-talk creep in, you want to revisit that moment, revisit the finish line, and go, wait. I just did something that only 0.1% of the population does. Why is this so hard? And is this harder than what I accomplished? 89% is basically no. The other thing that you can possibly do is to create, and what I tend to do is I have a wall, but a book, a wall, a shelf, something that's only you, the memories that you want that keep you in that mindset, those things that you've accomplished that you can sit there and look at and go, oh, wait a second, why am I doing this? If I can do this, I can definitely do this. And it just makes it nonchalant. I have a wall of all my medals, and I've got pictures of me in different situations, and that's what I visit when I start to come down that path. It's like, whoa, wait a second, you've done 5 Ironmans, you've done a 50-mile race, you've done all these different things, jumped out of planes, spent 9.5 years in the military. You've done all these things. Why can't you make more money? Why can't you build a deck? Why can't you get past this one obstacle at work? Well, you can. You just have to make sure that you realize that, you are more than the sum of your parts. You're your experiences. And those experiences state that you can do hard stuff. And if you can do hard stuff, you can get past this.
And I'll actually drive this conversation, and you raised something that I believe that is quite important towards today's conversation. Whereas having this big wall of achievement and asking yourself whenever you have doubt, whenever you escape that voice of negativity, of actually shutting down that voice. And as much as you might have these big achievements, I believe that I've achieved a lot in my life, and actually being able to start a podcast 4 years ago and still going, it's some kind of achievement, and not actually stepping down in a way, because as a podcast, I truly, I'm quite sure that you could relate with this in terms of whenever you want to actually stop, in a way, there's this voice behind your head of saying, keep going. And something that I look at back when I was younger, in a way of not really, back then I didn't have enough friends, and in a way of doing this, one of the reasons why I'm doing this is in a way validation of actually, and again, I think that you might relate also as someone that was once an workaholic,
right?
Yeah, workaholic. Whereas keep on doing it, not realizing that you're doing enough, and you don't realize it until a person says that no, you're doing good, you're doing enough. And it's something that I've realized, because for example, today it reached 150 episodes, and it's something that I thought I will never actually achieve. And someone said that I should celebrate it, and I said, nah, it's fine, it's something normal. And even when I reached around 100 episodes, it wasn't a big deal to me. It was the work. And how do you actually be that person that actually stops at something and say, okay, I've done a lot. I need to recognize myself that I'm doing enough, and not overwork yourself. How do you actually help your clients in terms of that?
So, all right. So in my world, that would be called overtraining. And that's the reason why they come to me in the first place is so that I can coach them into, hey, I'm the one that comes up with your plan. You have a rest day today. You do not need to be doing anything else because there's a specific plan in place. As far as what you're talking about is as far as work goes, it's the law of diminishing returns. So basically, as you keep doing and doing and doing, what are you accomplishing by keep doing and doing and doing, right? So you keep going and going, and all of a sudden you come up with a point where, hey, I'm not getting anywhere. So I spend this much time training, or I spend this much time working. What am I getting back? There's a point where, all right, I get to this point and I'm getting back what I'm putting into it. And then all of a sudden you get to a point where, okay, well, you know what? I tried this point where I decided that I was going to work this many more hours, but I'm not getting anything more for it. So finding that balance right there it's crucial, because you'll run yourself ragged. In my line of work and with my clients, it will injure them. It will it will reduce their immune response. If they're overtraining, their sleep will be stunted. A lot of things will happen negatively. So it's easier to diagnose overtraining. But as far as anything else in the world, working, podcasting, whatever, you got to figure out what are you getting back on that? And at what point are you going well over what you need to do to get the same result?
And I feel like with that, when it comes to podcasting, it's quite different. The reason why I'm saying that is the fact that at some point of our lives, we actually dedicate our whole lives doing that specific thing. And even when you're an athlete, some people actually take it as a career, take it as something that they will forever doing it. And it's something that we don't run. For example, I was just asked that, what do I do outside the podcasting? The only thing that I know is podcasting. The only thing that I want to improve myself is podcasting. And I feel like it's a curse and a blessing at the same time, because at some point you're actually doing that advocacy when it comes to such issues, mental health, in terms of endurance training, and something that I'm working on and try by any means to find something outside of work, or something that I would just relax and have fun. It's something that I don't know. I actually don't know. And going back to your story, and in terms of being injured and recovery, the road of being injured and recovering. So you mentioned experiencing a significant setback with your injury. How did this impact your mental health and overall well-being?
Oh my God, I was devastated. I was in the middle of, it wasn't my first marathon, but it was my first one in this life. I kind of considered my very, very first marathon was kind of in a different life. And I hadn't run or done anything in 10 years. And so I decided I was going to take on this challenge of running this new marathon. And I was running it for charity for the first time. And, I had a bunch of friends and stuff. So when I ended up having my injury, it was devastating, because I was doing this for other people too. It wasn't just for me. I was doing this for the Polycystic Kidney Disease Foundation. And the person that was the captain of our team, his wife had polycystic kidney disease, and his kids had a 50% chance of getting it. So there was a lot more on the line besides just me and running that marathon. But the thing that really got me was that according to my doctors, I was never going to be able to do that. I was done. They basically told me, they said, hey, you might be able to run 2 miles as a warm up and you have to do it real slow before, you're going to end up in terrible